Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Cancer energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Cancer energy. And the bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy. We all have our dualistic nature of free will, and we have to make decisions in our life. And in our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, we might want to move forward in life a certain way. Maybe have been living life that way. But the bottom row can kind of represent our fears or insecurities, or it could represent how we are kind of living our life right now. It's our comfort zone, and maybe we'd like to do things differently, but then we have to work through kind of our fears of moving forward in life a little differently. And then, just like we have our dualistic nature, we're dealing with all these people in the world that have their dualistic nature, and some of those people more align with us in our more kind of the way we've been living our life. We're in friendships and jobs and relationships with those people. If we were to move forward in life a little differently, have a little more hope and faith and belief in ourselves, some of those people would move forward with us. Some of those people won't. We could have things in common with some people in a way we live life. And if we were to kind of live our life a little differently, maybe we wouldn't have that kind of common thing in common anymore, whatever it could be. And then, it can just be that, people could move, people could quit certain habits, or I'm sure you get the idea. So, and if it is supposed to come up, it'll come up more in the reading. Okay. Let's go look at the top row first. We have the Ten of Wands. It's also the reason why the reading came out. We could have been doing something or been in something where we could have felt overwhelmed. We could have kind of felt defensive, wounded, or we were just inspired. We all live our life at these different stages. We were 18, we were 21, we were 25. And there can be a lot of things we like about it, but we can just be inspired, and our intuition is telling us it's time for the next phase of life, to face our fears. And the reason for the bottom row's reading is the Queen of Swords, which Queens can talk about how we think and feel. And the Queen of Swords is Aquarius energy of I have a dream. Oh, and at the end of the story in the bottom row, we have the Ten of Swords, which is kind of completing a cycle. The Ten of Wands can be completing a cycle. Seeing the truth that something we might have enjoyed at one time in a way of living life or viewing life that kind of inspired us. That can be the fire sign energy. We could have enjoyed life. We could have lived life. But again, we live life at a certain phase of life, and our intuition is kind of telling us, this was a part of the phase of life, but we have a dream, and it's to listen to our intuition that it's time to let go, kind of look at what are the good building blocks, what aren't the good building blocks, to take with us. And I think high vibe people offer truth and love to the people in their life because they love them. Let's move forward. You want to come with? And some of those people will say, yes, I want to come with. And the Queen of Wands, the Knight of Swords. I too am my intuition is telling me that there's some ways of living life or viewing life or whatever that I'm ready to move forward too. And some of those people move forward with you. And some of those people might have some more fear. The Queen of Wands I view as Leo energy, which can be a little bit more in our ego, maybe a little more defensive in our Aquarius energy of believing in ourselves, believing in our dreams, believing in love, that some people are like, nope, you can go. I'm going to keep doing this. And, sometimes we have people in our life where, wow, some people could find it inspiring. Wow, I can't believe you just keep believing in yourself, believing in your dreams. I have my life, and I might be a different age than you or whatever. But yeah, you go. But this is my life, so I'm going to do this. That isn't my dream. That can be your dream. It's not my dream. The Ten of Swords can be not my dream. But you go. We can all live our life differently, view life differently, have different dreams, ambitions, and motivations. And we can have people at all these other different stages of life and ways of living life. We can all be loving and encouraging and supportive of each other because we know that everybody has their comfort zone. Everybody has their own dreams and aspirations, and even could be at a phase of life, where some people are like maybe people who their children are out of high school. They're a little more free to kind of move forward in life a little differently than people who do still have children in high school, for example, or people who got married and that's part of their dream, and other people who didn't get married, or other people who did get married but then they're not married anymore. You're kind of on different timelines and working on different kind of dreams anyway, is part of it. So let's go up to the top row. We have the Wheel of Fortune, the Nine of Wands, the Tower, the Three of Pentacles, and the High Priestess. So, again, the Ten of Wands, and something happened here that made you kind of see the truth. And you might have been kind of defensive to wanting to see the truth, because that is kind of the way life goes. We can invest in certain things, and we would really like those things to work out the way we wanted. And we can put a lot of work and effort into trying to make them work. But eventually, we've kind of got to see the truth, that this isn't going to move forward the way I would like it to move forward. And maybe with some of the people in my life, how they want to move forward, how I want to move forward, their truth, my truth, maybe their ego, their defensiveness, their fear, their insecurity, whatever it could be, or their immaturity. The Ten of Wands can be immaturity, but it also can be what drives and motivates people. And some people do have a more worldly perspective of life. The Ten of Swords is Gemini energy, so is the Knight of Swords, which is about our free will. And some people, the truth is, they are more motivated to make their life maybe more about conforming to the world. Or a more shadowy could be they like it to be more about them. Or it's more about looking like a shining star in the world. That's the most important thing. And being inspired to maybe face their fears or get more balance within themselves, because high vibe energy is being more balanced. I do want these things in the world just like everybody else, but I'm not willing to sacrifice truth and love and my dreams and what I kind of think is just and fair and what motivates and inspires me from in love to have those things in the world, and other people are. Everybody has the free will choice. What's more important? And for some people, what's more important is it's about them or these things of the world. And for other people, it's like, no, it's supposed to be about a balance and love. And some people would be like, no, I'm going to stay in a job even if I hate this job because of the status and the ego and the image. And other people are like, I'm going to go find a different job. This isn't worth staying here for, right? Something like that. And it could have been really overwhelming, but you were determined to close out a cycle. Something was going on, or a way you were living your life, you realized things needed to change. And even though it was overwhelming, you are not willing to give up your truth and your dream or keep living your life a certain way. And then it's kind of interesting in this Ten of Wands, it kind of looks like climbing up from a meadow area and climbing up a hill. And mountains in tarot always kind of remind me of Virgo energy, which also is about our truth and our long-term plan, and also taking time to introspect and get clear about what your truth is and what your truth isn't, because we come in contact with all these different people in the world, and part of it is to help us get more clear about what my truth is and what my truth isn't. And if something happened that was very hurtful, painful, that's overwhelming, and then I'm going to take time to work through it all. So you take time determined to, in the Wheel of Fortune, kind of listen to your intuition and go with the flow. And seeing in the Nine of Wands that there were some things that you had been involved in or invested in that no longer, from the Ten of Wands down to the Nine of Wands, seeing that going back is not an option. The Wheel of Fortune turns and moves forward. I don't want to repeat certain patterns. It doesn't mean if certain people in my life heal or grow and mature themselves, and I'm going to be kind of defensive to some of those people if they were people who aren't currently moving forward with me and they were maybe hurtful or unkind, but there can be other people in my life that really were just not people I was that involved in or even knew. If some people that kind of weren't that involved in my life, if some of those people were to come towards me, I still might be, I've learned to have good boundaries within myself now, is what kind of the Nine of Wands would talk about. And then the Tower can be, I am not going to keep moving forward with anyone or in me harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way. So it's the Three of Pentacles and the High Priestess. The High Priestess is Cancer and Pisces energy, emotional water sign energy, kind of things that I love and dreams that I had. And I think for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty caught up in the world and pretty inspired by the world, and we have all these things we want to manifest. And we're sure if we make our life about those things and invest in those things, we'll be happy. And some people found out and went and pursued that dream and found out things about it that they didn't like and maybe feeling betrayed. And it can be that I didn't listen to my intuition in the past. The High Priestess can be about listening to your intuition. And we as human beings, we think we're so smart. And the Knight of Swords and the Ten of Swords and the Queen of Swords is air sign energy of the mind. We have free will, and we can be pretty sure, like, oh no, God, I got a handle on this, and I'm going to make these things work out the way I want them to work. I have a dream, and I'm motivated and inspired, and I'm going to put in this work and effort to make this work. Well, if it is kind of more maybe tipped in favor of operating more from this worldly perspective of these things that I want, which, yes, we want these things. We live in the world. We want stability. We want security. We want to have a job or a source of income, right? We want friendship. We want relationship. We want community. But did we listen to our intuition? And sometimes we don't want to see the truth. And the Tower is trying to get people to see the truth. Some people eventually did see the truth, but maybe before they didn't want to see the truth. And sometimes we can get in relationships with people, and it's really more of a mismatched relationship. Our truth in our Gemini nature of what drives and motivates us and our idea of the dream life is different. High vibe people are inspired to work together with people from love. That's what drives and motivates them. I have a dream of working together with people who are in high vibe energy, just, fair, loving. We all have healing and growing and maturing to do. We can all do that together, but believing that everyone is more motivated and inspired, that if they're in relationships with people who are being loving and nurturing and supportive and authentic and loving, that people would want to work together in that way. But the truth is, some people don't want to do that. That can be when they get out of a relationship. Oh shit. Oh my gosh. Because they like moving forward more defensive. And they do not want to detach from their more self-protective, defensive nature, which can be in Leo energy emotionally, that they're more self-protective of their more authentic, vulnerable nature in a way. And it's like, I am not letting my more authentic nature out to play in the world. They get hurt. Nope, they get backstabbed and hurt out there. And it's kind of like being a bad mother to themselves. You can't go out there, you could get hurt. So then their more egoic nature is what runs their life. Their self-defensive nature. And we can get in friendships and relationships with them and be in friendships and relationships with them for a long time. There's a lot of things to work through in a relationship. Well, I like doing this. You like doing that. And, just what's your truth on this? What's your truth on that? And we have a lot of things to work through in a relationship. And that all takes time. And people could have been attracted to each other. People could have had similar kind of ways of viewing life and ways of things that they thought were just and fair or right or wrong to a degree. People could have been attracted to each other. But there kind of comes that point in time in a relationship where you've kind of worked through everything except this final truth of Gemini free will. Ultimately, at a core foundational level, what more drives and motivates you? Your defensive nature, being more about you, more about the world, or detaching from that, being more inspired by the world, kind of secretly, and standing up for yourself and detaching from that, and now working together, listening to your intuition and letting love and intuition be more the guiding factor for the decisions you make in your life versus fear or insecurity or living more from your mind than your heart or being practical or strategic and really having to be authentic in a relationship. Come out from behind the defensive egoic nature. And that can be when some people are like, nope, I'm not willing to do that. Or even if I start to feel like you're kind of healing and growing and maturing yourself, and you're starting to have more hope and faith and belief in yourself. Maybe when we were started out, none of us were in that energy. We all could have been more immature, and we could have helped each other through a lot of different phases of life where we did work through things and we kind of healed and we grew and we matured ourselves. But in any relationship, you can go through many cycles with people. Like you could have been 15 years old together. You could have been 18 years old. You could have been 21. You could have been 25. And you keep being loving and encouraging and supportive of each other. You might have some highs and lows in there, but you're kind of still loving and encouraging and supportive people to each other. But if it gets to where even it could be where a way of viewing life is just like way different. And one person always could have had more hope and faith and belief and looked at life from a higher perspective, is what High Vibe Aquarius can talk about. Where some of the other people, I don't know if I believe that there's a higher truth or justice to aspire to. I kind of think, no, that's not my truth. I kind of think it's more about the world and, I just don't think there's a higher truth or justice to aspire to. you know, I think we're here on the planet. The planet says make our life about these things. This is what's important, and we live life, and then we're done, and we don't live life anymore. And that can be how some people think. And, when you really do believe in a higher truth or justice, it's like, I believe I have more to work with in the world than just these things of the world. And other people could think, no, you just have these things of the world to work with, and that's what you need to work with. It's like, no, I was given my creative, inspired, intuitive, passionate, and my intellect and my own unique talent, skills, and interests. I think I can work with all of that. And I believe there is an energy that exists in the world that wants us to work with those things, because I think those were gifts that we were given. And we were given those unique gifts. Like some people, it might be singing or painting or being in math or being a lawyer or being a nurse or whatever their thing is, right? Everybody's is different. But some people could definitely live much more from their mind than their heart. And everything has to be practical and logical. So even though they at one time could have had a dream of investing in their own unique talent, skills, and interests, you know, either other people in their life or within themselves, they decided that's impractical. That is living in fantasy land. And some people feel that way about love. And they could have decided, nope, I got to work with these things of the world. I got to be practical and logical if I want to get the justice I want in the world. I don't believe in, but I do myself. I think it's just things go on at the big picture and things happen at the smaller phase that are reflective of that, called fractals. So at the big picture, we live in a world of duality. So we call the high vibe energy God, the shadowy energy devil. We have this dualistic nature within ourselves. We have the free will to choose. And I believe that energy is there. We can align with our more hopeful, believing nature. We can be loving. We can offer love and compassion and forgiveness to ourselves, to free ourselves from things that manipulate us. We can free ourselves from past pain and heartbreak. We can free ourselves from our ego. We can free ourselves from our defensive nature. We can free ourselves from our more immature, self-indulgent nature. We can free ourselves from our things that manipulate us, that try to confuse us, that, by offering truth and love to those things, I think is the answer. And that helps us get out of our defensiveness and free ourselves from feeling betrayed, being able to make peace with the past, let other people live their life the way they want to live it. I have my truth. I have my healing and growing and maturing to do. I am going to do that, and other people have the free will to do that or not. But I am not willing to give up my dreams. So I keep offering and being inspired to look at life from a higher perspective, keep things in perspective, put things in perspective, and offer truth and love to it, that everybody's got free will to live their life the way they want it. And I'm going to see whose truth I do agree with in the way they live their life and whose truth I don't agree with, and their idea of what's just and fair, my idea of what's just and fair, and I'm willing to let go and become independent of people who their truth is different than my truth. You go live your life the way you want, and I'm going to go live my life the way I want. And I have probably, again, high vibe people have probably offered truth and love to the people in their life to move forward with them. And if those people said, no, that's not my truth, they said, okay. Am I kind of defensive? Am I kind of, the tower can be kind of really disruptive in your life. It really, something that you thought was going to be a long-term, safe, solid foundation, it doesn't seem to be the case, and the tower is seeing, like, at a core foundational level, that your truth is different. And again, could have went through many cycles with people and worked through many things, but when you got to that core foundational truth, maybe of how you view life, or really maybe more standing up for that, it has to be just and fair, because love is supposed to be just and fair, and some people kept hoping you wouldn't stand up for yourself and would kind of indulge them in poor behavior anyway. Or you wouldn't love and believe in yourself, and you'd keep repeating a certain pattern and living your life a certain way with them. And it's like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to stay in certain relationships and hide that I feel overwhelmed, feel betrayed, maybe feel backstabbed, maybe feel manipulated. I should be in relationships with people where I'm being, high vibe energy is being loving and encouraging and supportive of each other. Where'd that go? And if it's not here, then I'm willing to leave it. I'm going to listen to my intuition. And I'm going to high vibe Capricorn, free myself from these things that manipulate me. And I'm going to be inspired by truth and love and belief in my dreams and listening to my intuition to keep moving forward and close out an old cycle to have a new beginning. But, it can take time if people did act in these shadowy ways of being in your life, or just some people, like you could work at a job and people said, this job is over. It's like, oh my gosh, and then we have to, it's kind of the idea that believe that God is kind of working with you to help you manifest what you want to manifest, but it's not a quick fix like the devil. The devil's like, hey, come on over here. You could do this, you could do that. You'll feel better. You don't have to. You could drop your burdens. You could come indulge yourself. We'll indulge you. But the devil lies. And other people in our life lie. You could have people in your life right now that would like to be in a relationship with you, but they're not just and fair, they're manipulative, they're prideful, they're immature, and it's like, that might make me feel better for a bit, but then I gotta dis-emotionally entangle myself again. And I do, high vibe energy and Cancer, I do emotionally invest myself in relationships. So I don't want to entangle myself in something I shouldn't get in to begin with. I've already been there and done that. I've learned that lesson. So I'm getting out of my defensiveness. I'm working through my own fears, my own insecurities, as I keep freeing myself, listening to my intuition. And soon you will be able to drop that burden because you're putting in the work and effort in truth and love to move something forward. And it kind of keeps showing you who isn't aligned with that truth in your life, that isn't working with you to help you do that, and who are the people in your life who are offering you truth and love and encouragement and treating you in a just and fair and loving and encouraging way. So what's coming up? Well, I suppose we should maybe go look at the past or what was. We have the Six of Cups, the Magician, the Five of Cups, the Two of Cups, the Queen of Wands, the Knight of Swords, and the Ten of Swords. So the Six of Cups can start out meaning that we could have gotten involved in something where it seemed like there was equal give and take. And we were trying to, in the Magician, manifest something. But then we have the Five of Cups. So we went from the Six of Cups down to the Five of Cups. And the Five of Cups can be where people haven't worked through some issue from their past that could still manipulate them. And they could be more focused on the things in their life that didn't work out than having more hope and faith and belief and love. And then we go from the Five of Cups down to the Two of Cups, which is kind of letting go of the Three of Cups, which is kind of working together from love. And again, a shadowy Three of Cups can be where people are using their emotions more manipulatively. So we could have gotten in a relationship thinking people were willing to manifest with us to work through those regrets of the past, to have some hope and faith and belief and love, and to kind of see the difference between people in their life who were hurtful or unkind or manipulative or bossy or controlling, and the people in their life who aren't like that and are trying to work together with them. And some people can't work through it. Again, we have to be willing to deal with the truth. And when we're ready to deal with the truth, we'll be ready to deal with the truth. And some people hadn't worked through some issues of their past that still manipulated them and made them defensive. Or made them choose to try to use their emotions more manipulatively in a relationship. And some people do create an illusion they're willing to do a more deep, meaningful relationship, but that is just an illusion they create. And really, they try to use their emotions and use the love that you have for them and the fact that you wanted this dream to come into reality, use all of that to try to manipulate you, to make you stay in the relationship and be defensive to ending it. But you kind of saw the truth that they weren't really working together with you cooperatively from love. It was more of the fear or the insecurity or the pride or the ego or the image or the status. It looks good by worldly standards. You should stay. And you're like, I'm not staying if this isn't going to be a balanced, authentic, loving relationship. And as time has went by, I have seen that it seems like your truth is you're more aligned. The Two of Cups can kind of be what you're aligned with. You're more aligned with operating from your ego nature or defensive nature or self nature than being inspired to align with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And sometimes when you're not willing to keep indulging someone, they definitely might want to backstab you, and some of you could have gotten backstabbed because they don't want people to view you as someone who was who you said you were. Because if what they have to offer people is the illusion of who they are, and maybe in Aquarius energy of, they don't have to be an Aquarius sun sign, but they could shine bright in the world in some way. They have a certain status or image or whatever, right? And that can be more what they use to get people in a relationship with them. Kind of like the devil using things of the world to tempt people to align with the devil. And if that's what they kind of use more, their image or their status or how people view them is most important. So they could backstab you to try to kind of confuse people about why the relationship didn't work out, try to manipulate the truth to get people to view them as like a more high vibe person and you as a more shadowy person. And if somebody backstabbed you, that really could have been hurtful and it really could have been confusing. And then you were kind of having to work through these shadowy energies within yourself. Like, gee, I thought this was someone I used to defend, and this was someone I used to be working with to bring a dream into reality. And then they did these things that are just so confusing and hurtful. I don't, it's really hard to work through it, to understand it. And it could, and some people wanted to destabilize you. They wanted you to quit like loving and believing in yourself. For one, they maybe would get back in a relationship with you if you quit loving and believing in yourself and went into more hurtful, afraid, codependent energy, because that can really be the type of people they more like to be in a relationship with. Or if you would go drive your life off into the ditch, then they could step up and they would look like the more stable, grounded, loving person. Like, see, I told you they weren't stable, they weren't grounded, but they did these hurtful and unkind and unjust things to really hurt you. And then they're just waiting for you to sabotage yourself. And then they can step up and present themselves as the more authentic person in a way. But for some of those people, they're really stressed out right now because it didn't work. Because some of you are like, this was really hurtful and unkind, and I did feel backstabbed and betrayed, and I was really confused, but I do believe in a higher truth and a higher power. And I look to that to help me stand up for myself and help me do this work within myself to get to the truth of the matter and not let it kind of destabilize me and give up on myself and give up on my dreams. I realized the truth that some of the people in my life were maybe superficial, shallow, manipulative, hurtful, unkind, prideful, egotistical, defensive, or full of themselves, all about themselves or the ego and the image. And I'm going to stand up for my truth. And I'm going to free myself from these people who defend an unstable foundation. I'm going to free myself from those people and stand up for my truth. And again, it could have taken a lot of work and effort, but it's like not letting other people make you give up on yourself and your dreams. I'm letting go of you because I see that we have a different truth and a different dream. So you can go do that with whoever else you want to go do that with. But I am not going to stay in shadowy energy and people can do what they want and try, like the devil keeps trying to destabilize us to make us not believe in ourselves, believe in our dreams. And sadly, the devil tempts other people in their lust, their greed, their pride, their ego, basically to do the devil's work. And you said no. And I'm freeing myself and becoming independent of you, and I've closed out a cycle with you. And when some of the people who tried to tear you down see they didn't tear you down, it can be a false sense of empowerment. And then their bubble gets burst. Like, look, I threw that person under the bus. I kicked that person to the curb. I'm so powerful or whatever. It only lasts as long as the people stay under the bus and kick to the curb. And then when you get up and you get out of your ego about it and realize what kind of person they are, then the false sense of empowerment that they thought they had over your life diminishes, and they're kind of seen for the petty, kind of immature person that they are. And the people who were hoping to try to steal your life, that probably tried to confuse people about the truth of who you are, and did hurtful and unkind things to try to destabilize you, as you keep moving forward, it kind of reveals the truth of who you are and who you're not, and it kind of reveals the truth of who they are. And they certainly did not expect it to backfire on them. So now they could be mad. They're mad their plan didn't work. But they didn't take action from truth and love. But they thought they were so smart that they could force things to go the way they wanted. But they didn't know that some people in the world believe in a higher truth and power. If it was just about the world and, oh my gosh, and these people are being mean to me, or these people rejected me, or whatever, how am I going to have my dream come into reality? I need to work with people of the world. And God's like, no, you don't. You can work with me. And you're moving forward, having a new beginning, while some of these people are repeating an old pattern because they didn't learn the lesson they were meant to learn. They haven't looked at life from a higher perspective, and for some of them, they never will. And they will not understand how some people keep overcoming, unjust, unfair, hurtful things in their life. How they don't stay defensive and mad and sad and angry. It's because I believe that God kind of works us out in the world. I think people who are more manipulative, more shadowy, more immature, more whatever, they're gonna, just like me, I had to grow up and learn lessons. Things didn't work out well for me when I had some lessons to learn in life. And I don't think some things are gonna work out well for these people. But as they kind of get older, they could keep thinking, no, 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 and if I have a certain status or image in the world, like I can cheat the justice system. It's like, no, God is in charge, and you don't get a pass go to the next level of life, you can try to fake that you are more mature, more stable, more grounded, more mature than you are. But if you're not really that, eventually the truth is revealed because you're tempted by your own shadow nature, tempted to align with other people who are in shadowy energy, that you're not who you say you are, and other people see the truth of it, and other people see the truth of people who really are who they say they are. And that's who they want to work with, and that's who you want to work with. So, what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Cancer energy that they might not see coming? The Magician. Why? Because of the Seven of Cups. So because the Seven of Cups is Scorpio energy, we're these emotionally complex human beings. And it can be really confusing and really overwhelming when some people aren't working, that we maybe had been working together with to some degree, and then they become defensive and manipulative and hurtful and unkind and unjust and unfair, and it's really confusing. We don't understand it. But that's when it's like, I want to get to the truth of this, and I kind of, the Ten of Wands of Sagittarius energy is about higher learning and education. I'm going to wrap my brain around this game of life. And it does get down to this core foundational truth of free will. People who are motivated to be just and fair are just and fair. People who are motivated to act with character and integrity act with character and integrity. And some people in shadowy magician act like they're more balanced, more stable, more mature than they are, but it's just an illusion. And then, their more shadowy nature will come out, which is either being more about them, trying to manipulate people to get them to do what they want, try to stop other people from loving and believing in themselves so they stay in shadowy energy so they can keep kind of manipulating or controlling them. And that if people aren't letting other people manipulate and control them, and if other people continue to keep healing and growing and maturing themselves, eventually those people, it's like, well, damn, like the only thing left is to try to completely backstab and betray you as a final attempt to get you to stop. When they had the free will to work together with you cooperatively with love. And that's when you kind of see the truth. That really isn't the foundation of how some of those people want to work together with people. It's just for a really long time, you weren't seeing that they really kind of like it to maybe be more about them. And if you're a very loving person, you kind of could have indulged people in relationships, and they were used to you indulging them in relationships, and they knew you wanted this dream to come into reality, and they knew you were defensive of letting it go, and for them it kind of built their ego, and again they had the free will to quit acting like that and work with you cooperatively from love, but they kind of liked it that way. And how about you just keep doing that? And eventually you're like, I don't think this is just and fair. I feel like I'm putting in all the work to make this relationship work. And if you have no interest in putting in work and effort to work with me cooperatively, equally, to make this work, then I'm willing to let it go, even though I didn't want to. Your emotional nature here could want to, but your worldly nature of being more grounded and balanced, Cancer with your Capricorn, no, that was unjust and that was unfair. And your high vibe air sign energy, that was unjust and that was unfair. We're going to keep offering ourselves that cup of love, to keep believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams. We were trying in high vibe Gemini and Virgo, that's the Magician card, to manifest from truth and love. Other people created the illusion they were willing to do that, obviously. So no more illusion. And then you're manifesting this new beginning, and they don't kind of realize how you're doing it. It's like, because it isn't about feeling I need to work with other people to do that. I have high vibe energy. I have my own creative, inspired nature within myself. I have my intuitive, loving, hopeful, believing nature. I have the divine, that energy is there for me to align with every day. And I'm investing my time, energy, and effort into the people who are like that. And the people who aren't like that, I have detached from. So I have loving and encouraging and authentic and inspiring people in my life. Who do you have in your life? Other people who manipulate you? Other people who try to backstab and betray you and make you not love and believe in yourself? Well, I guess you'll stay and do that for as long as that's your truth, or you think that's just and fair. But I don't think it's just and fair, so I'm willing to become independent of you and anyone else like that. And you're going to have these new beginnings because the 7 comes after the 6. And here we had the 2 of Cups. So, kind of to get to the 6, you had to work through accepting that some people in your life, it's a missed opportunity in love because they didn't choose to take that cup of higher love to work together in love. But you did take that cup of love that the divine offered you to make peace with the past. And now you're having this new beginning, manifesting a new beginning. And they can see you moving forward in peace and balance, motivated and inspired. And they at one time had the choice to move forward with you in that way. And they didn't, because they would have had to work through things within themselves that stopped them from having hope and faith and belief in themselves, in others, and in love, or living more from their mind than their heart, or being in their more defensive, egoic nature, or being more about themselves. And I think ultimately they'll be the people who feel betrayed. Because you set yourself free, and they still have all these things within themselves and people in their life and the world that keep manipulating them. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy? What's coming up for them that they might not see coming? Okay. We have the 6 of Cups and the 6 of Wands. And the reason is because of the Queen of Wands and the Page of Swords. Well, the shadowy people don't want to look at life from a higher perspective or put things in perspective. Whatever past pain, heartbreak, fear, insecurities, shadowy ways of being, they don't want to see the truth of it. They don't want to see the truth of it within themselves or about some of the people they align themselves with. So they kind of keep turning their back on their inner child nature of hope and faith and belief. And they keep operating more from their egoic nature, shadowy Leo energy within themselves, which then is indulging their more immature way of viewing life, of what they think is just and fair, and maybe being more about themselves and more about the world and looking like a shining star, or being more about themselves. And because that is kind of the truth that they defend, they keep repeating certain patterns. They're inspired because we'll all keep repeating a pattern. You know, it's a way of living life, a way of viewing life, vices, things to make us feel better. We'll keep repeating that pattern until we're willing to see the truth that it maybe is repeating an old pattern. Like, we're not moving forward in life. You know, we keep repeating this old pattern over and over. And that's fine. If some people want to repeat an old pattern and they're living life at a phase of life that they don't have a problem with, other people had a problem living their life and continuing to live their life at a certain phase of life, they were ready to move forward. Other people are like, this doesn't bother me. I'm still okay living my life that way. Well, then they'll keep living their life that way. But there is going to be always more high vibrational people in their life that would like to move things forward. Just like we did. We worked through our fears at 18 and 21 and 25. Let's detach from that phase of life. Let's move forward in life. If we don't, this is our life like forever. And some people, though, they're like, well, I do want to live my life like this forever. It's kind of like they're not. Shadowy energy can be where it's kind of like dead and stagnant. There is no growing and healing and maturing yourself. That would be where we detach from one phase of life. We kind of see what needs to go, what should stay, and then we move forward, face our fears and, kind of grow and mature ourselves some, right? And some people are like, nope, I don't want to do that. I want to keep doing this. Well, they're going to have other people in their life who want to be in a relationship with them. And some of those people are like, finally see the truth. My dream is never going to come into reality because, and that's where it's shadowy. High vibe energy in the Three of Pentacles, you're supposed to work together with people cooperatively. You have your dreams and aspirations. I have my dreams and aspirations. And then if we love each other, everybody has to compromise some things. Hopefully I'd love to be willing for everybody to get the most of the things that they want, to stay in relationship out of love for each other, to bring that dream into reality. But some people are like, well, I don't want to see the truth of what I should let go of. And if I have to let go of something, I don't want to go there. So let's stay here and keep doing this. And it ends up being kind of more their way. And that's when some people in their life are like, it was supposed to be where we work together with each other from love, but that doesn't seem to be your truth. It seems like you hope because I have love for you and I want this dream to come into reality, that you can emotionally manipulate the fact that I love you and I want this dream to come into reality. But it's going to be this dream. You're more letting whatever it is manipulate you, keep manipulating you. If it's your fear, your insecurity, it has to be more about you. You're defensive, you're prideful, you're bossy, you're controlling, you're immature. Whatever it is going to keep staying that way. Nothing is going to change. And that's when some people are in their life are going to tell them, I've made peace with this. I accept that you like to live your life the way you do. You view life a certain way. That's not my truth. And it's kind of like, people communicate one more time. Are you willing to get out of your defensiveness or whatever to move forward with me? And if those people, one more time, nope, I'm not doing that. That's when some people are like, I accept the truth of it. And I'm going to stand up for my truth and what I believe in. And I wish you peace. And I'm going to move on. And they'll be like, what? But I was always able to manipulate you. But I know you love me. I thought you wouldn't love and believe in yourself. And odds are, those people, they do want it to be more where it's more about them. And so they will probably go try to confuse people about the truth of why the relationship ended. Maybe backstab the people that they had been in relationship with. Those people will have to go through that, be shocked that someone that they were offering nothing but truth and love and encouragement to would backstab and betray them. Really confusing. But as they work through it, it's like they're not... I had an illusion about the type of person they were, and that's not the truth of who they were. They defend their much more immature nature of being more about themselves, and they're inspired to want to repeat these certain ways of being or ways of living life that they've decided is just and fair. And for some reason, I guess because they think other people don't love and believe in themselves, they keep thinking other people will keep indulging them in that way because other people have. It's like, well, you might have some people in your life who do that, but it won't be me. And that's what they don't see coming. The more high vibrational people in their life who were trying to offer them truth and love, to work through these issues within themselves, to free themselves from those issues, those people aren't going to be in their life anymore. And the people who they do surround them are other people who are happy they live their life that way because they do too. Other people who are defensive to the truth, other people who defend their more immature nature, other people who could be more emotionally shallow and superficial and more about the ego and the image and want them to be in relationship with them and align with them and stay in relationship with them because it works for them. They didn't want them to become more independent anyway. They didn't want them to free themselves from things that manipulate them because they would have been upset because these things manipulate them. And this is great. We can all hang out together. We can complain about those other people who don't let us don't make their life about these things or aren't willing to indulge us in our illusions. It's like a self-perpetuating, let's stay in illusion. And you see through the illusion that people try to create about the type of people they are. That's not who you are. If you were someone who is just and fair, you'd act in a just and fair way, and you didn't. If you're motivated to work together with people from love, you would have been offered love to the situation, but you didn't. You try to manipulate the truth and loving people to create an illusion about the person that you are. But eventually, the more high vibrational people in your life see through the illusion. And then you backstab them because they wanted you to heal and grow and mature yourself, and you didn't want to. Be more authentic, and you didn't want to. And I don't think the high vibe people really care. It's like, I think it's built into the system. You're going to have your own repercussions to face. I think the truth will all come out in the end. I'm just going to go live my life. And I think you're manifesting in really high vibe energy with the high priestess and the magician connected with very high vibrational energy to manifest your dreams into reality, where they're using petty and envy and jealous and lust and greed and pride and ego to try to manipulate people in the world because that's what they think they have to work with. Instead of working with the more high vibrational energies because they don't believe in that, I guess, or don't align with that truth. So there you go, Cancer. I wish you peace, love, and joy. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.